who argue that direct sea access is essential for the nation's survival and growth. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has reignited the issue, framing port access as a matter of national destiny and warning that force could be used if negotiations fail. Ethiopia's recent achievements, like the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, have emboldened its leadership to pursue a new national project, reclaiming a gateway to the Red Sea. The push for a port is now a rallying cry, blending economic necessity with historical grievance and resurgent nationalism. This volatile mix has turned a long-standing aspiration into a regional crisis, raising the specter of conflict. The narrative is clear. As Ethiopia secured its water with the dam, it now seeks to secure its future with a port. The stakes have never been higher, and the region is on edge. Ethiopia's assertive rhetoric is matched by military preparations near the Eritrean border, especially in the Afar region, the direct route to the port of Assab. Ethiopian National Defense Force units and Afar Special Forces have been observed conducting maneuvers, signaling readiness for a potential operation. This is not routine posturing. Analysts believe Ethiopia is prepared for a swift move on Assab if ordered. The build-up is classic coercive diplomacy, pressuring Eritrea to negotiate or face military consequences. But such moves risk miscalculation. Eritrea could interpret them as an imminent invasion, triggering war. Every troop movement is now scrutinized by neighbors and global powers, turning the Afar salt flats into a geopolitical flashpoint. The line between threat and war is razor-thin. Ethiopia's actions have escalated a political dispute into a potential regional conflict. Observers fear the momentum for war may soon outpace diplomacy. The Horn of Africa is holding its breath. Alongside its border deployments, Ethiopia has overhauled its military, centralizing command and integrating regional special forces into the national army. This move gives Prime Minister Abiy direct control and ensures a unified force for any operation toward the Red Sea. Afar regional forces, once focused on local security, are now being retrained for complex border missions. The military's modernization, highlighted by new commando training, signals Ethiopia's readiness for external action. Internally, this centralization neutralizes regional dissent. Externally, it projects strength to neighbors. Eritrea and Somalia view this shift with alarm, seeing it as a direct threat. Ethiopia's new military posture, combined with its assertive rhetoric, has heightened regional mistrust. The balance of power in the Horn of Africa is shifting, and not peacefully. Assab is more than a port. It's Ethiopia's lost gateway to the sea and a symbol of national pride. Regaining access would cut dependence on Djibouti, boost economic growth, and fulfill a generational aspiration. The slogan "From Gerd to Assab" links Ethiopia's engineering triumphs to its coastal ambitions. For Eritrea, Assab is non-negotiable, a hard-won asset and a pillar of sovereignty. Losing it would be an existential blow, both economically and politically. Any Ethiopian move on Assab would be seen as an act of war by Eritrea. The port is a red line for both nations, fueling nationalist fervor on each side. The battle for Assab is about identity as much as strategy. Eritrea, under President Isaias Afwerki, has responded to Ethiopia's threats with a massive military buildup along the southern border and coast. Defensive positions are fortified, and the army is on high alert. Assab's defense is non-negotiable. Eritrea's narrative of resisting Ethiopian aggression is deeply rooted, uniting the nation and justifying its militarized society. The government frames any Ethiopian action as a fight for survival, rallying public support. Eritrea's military, though smaller, is disciplined and battle-hardened, with terrain favoring defenders. The leadership is prepared for a war of attrition, aiming to make any Ethiopian advance costly. Conceding Assab is unthinkable for Afwerki. It would undermine his legacy and the state's founding principles. Eritrea's stance is absolute. Any attempt to seize Assab will trigger all-out war. There is no room for negotiation on sovereignty. The region faces the prospect of a devastating conflict. A war over Assab would reverberate far beyond Ethiopia and Eritrea, threatening the Red Sea, a vital artery for global trade. Disruption near the Bab el-Mandeb Strait could spike shipping costs and destabilize international markets. Regional powers like the UAE and Saudi Arabia, with investments and security interests in the area, are alarmed and pushing for de-escalation. China and the US also have major stakes, with military bases and strategic interests at risk. A conflict could empower extremist groups, trigger humanitarian crises, and force costly interventions. The Horn of Africa's web of rivalries means war could easily spread, drawing in Somalia, Sudan, Egypt, and others. The consequences: mass displacement, economic collapse, and a shattered regional order. The world cannot afford to ignore this flashpoint. Despite the war rhetoric, urgent diplomatic efforts are underway to avert disaster. African and Arab mediators are seeking a compromise that meets Ethiopia's needs without violating Eritrea's sovereignty. Ethiopia's approach isn't purely military. It's also pursuing alternative routes, like the controversial deal with Somaliland for access to Berbera port. This agreement, however, has angered Somalia, which sees it as a violation of its territory, escalating tensions further. The Somaliland deal remains stalled, highlighting the complexity of Ethiopia's quest for sea access. Every solution seems to spark new conflicts, deepening the regional crisis. The balance between military threats and diplomatic overtures is precarious. The international community hopes for a negotiated settlement before war becomes inevitable. The clock is ticking for peace. Alongside military moves, a fierce information war rages online, fueling nationalism and hardening public opinion. AI-generated propaganda and doctored videos flood Ethiopian social media, depicting triumphant warships in Assab and stoking calls for action. Disinformation blurs fact and fiction, making peaceful compromise appear as betrayal. Both Ethiopian and Eritrean actors use digital campaigns to demonize the other and escalate tensions. The result: a domestic climate where war seems inevitable and moderation is silenced. Leaders are boxed in by their own rhetoric, with public opinion demanding confrontation. The digital battlefield is as critical as the physical one, shaping perceptions and decisions. Propaganda accelerates the march to war, narrowing the space for diplomacy. The fog of information is thickening before a single shot is fired. As of October 19, 2025, the Horn of Africa stands at a dangerous crossroads. Ethiopia's military is poised, but no shots have been fired. The economic burden of being landlocked persists. The standoff is a tense game of brinkmanship, with both sides fully mobilized and public opinion inflamed. Ethiopia's pursuit of a Somaliland port deal has only deepened the crisis, alienating Somalia and adding instability. Some analysts argue the war talk serves political agendas, but the risk of miscalculation is real and terrifying. With armies on alert and propaganda rampant, a small incident could spark a full-scale war. Global powers are watching anxiously. The Red Sea is too vital and the region too fragile for conflict to be ignored. The potential for humanitarian disaster and economic shock is immense. Diplomatic efforts continue, but time is running out. The fate of the Horn of Africa hangs in the balance, teetering between war and a last chance for peace.